It wasn't in the original script. And the question I had was, how does whatever his past life was, and we don't know specifically, he's damaged goods. And there was a lot of violence and or chaos in his life. And I think there was a need to put things in order, to fold things a certain way, to place things a certain way. Didn't make the movie, but I fiddled around with that shade.
Oh yeah, the shade thing moving around.
That's not in the movie, right?
No.
Yeah,
no.
There was a thing with the shade and the little string that holds it. He had to get it just, I think he needed things to be in order because he needed things to be together and to fit because he wasn't together and things didn't fit. And I like that idea. So he's not just some mindless super guy who goes around kicking butt. He's struggling. He's moving from job to job. He's an avid reader. He goes to this diner at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, and he doesn't have a gun. He's not concerned, or he doesn't carry a gun. He's not concerned about that. He's just, all of those layers make for an interesting character. We all have our public life, and then we all have that when we close that door and we're in that house by ourselves and who we really are, and maybe we like ourselves, maybe we don't, what we see when we look in the mirror and odd things and, talking to yourself. And so maybe people relate to that, oh wow, he's not this super, he's screwed up like the rest of us. We don't see him necessarily break down at home, but
When you see something's wrong,
yeah,
like with the book when he can't sleep,
right.
He bangs his head with the
timing,
book.
yeah.
Something's going on there. The diner is set up. It's like seeing into a bubble or looking outside of the bubble. That's why it's got the big windows. It's like Hopper. There's an outside world. There's an inside world. Right? You can't escape. You can't escape one or the other.
That's interesting that he goes to this diner to be alone, but he's like on television or something.
Yeah, because he's trying to fit into the world, but the glass is still there, right? But he's trying to fit into the world in a different way than he's used to, because he's probably been God knows where in the world and did so many things that we don't even want to know about. So for him, it's almost, we talked about this earlier, it's the internal journey of what does it mean to be a human being in the sense of fitting in society when we've trained this guy to be something else. He's been trained to do something that most of us, only maybe 1% of us can do like that, right? Those guys. And so how do you fit them back into the world? How do they fit back into the world? How do they function in the regular world day in and day out? I love Chloe. I mean, we cast. There was another young lady that was gonna I was leaning towards the one that played the other role. In fact,
in the hospital in the hallway
Yeah,
scene.
yeah, and she's a wonderful actress as well. And Amy Pascal mentioned Chloe. She said, "I should meet Chloe." And I thought, "Oh, she's 16." Though when I looked her up, because she was so young, I remember her
And
just
he's
from
the head of the studio.
Yeah, Amy was the one that said you should meet her, and I looked her up, and I remember her from Hugo. And I was like, she's so young. She's 16. And when she walked in the room, she was amazing. Like she was just, I don't know, she was just a little woman. She was so mature. She was so confident. And we talked for about an hour, and I had a great time talking to her. And I said, "You should meet Denzel." She's like, "I'd love to meet Denzel." So we set it up, and she read with Denzel, and she's a pro. Amy was right. Paul Rosenberg. I know Paul and Eminem for a while, and Paul saw the movie, and he was like, "Man, I got attracted. M would just love for you to listen to. And they literally, somebody had to bring it over because they wouldn't let anybody deliver it. And they played it, and it was just on the money.
It was challenging. Yeah, it's not, doesn't flow, you know, glottal, and it's, yeah. And practice, you know, and not saying too much. Bullet in the Head.
All in the Head, a Bittersweet Life.
Bittersweet Life.
Old Boy.
Old Boy.
Yeah.
Crazy movies.
Yeah, they got some really talented people. Was it Mr. and Mrs. Vengeance or Mr. Vengeance?
Mr.
Mr. Vengeance or something like that. Scorsese turned me on to that one. It's a really violent, but filmmaking is really interesting over there.